sjekk her.
Ja, det her bombe, ass. Det kan ikke være noe annet enn en bombe.
Alle vinduene gått. Det der var kraftige greier, da.
Ja, dritkraftig. Jeg sto i jentebutikken. Og jeg bare... Hallo? Er det noen som trenger hjelp? Shit.
Fasaden helt sprengt ut.
Dette helt vanvittig.
Ja, det helt vanvittig.
Du hører det, Olof?
1 minute before broadcast from Studio 7 in the EBU member NRK, the anchorman is being briefed by a reporter on the scene. This is the first TV news in Norway about the bomb in Oslo. A recording from the central newsroom some minutes after showed the ongoing planning process. It also showed that the EBU members have the feed from Oslo 35 minutes after the event.
We would have to make sure to get footage out to EBU as quickly as possible.
Geneva started to rebroadcast the NRK bulletin at 1400 GMT with Norwegian graphics. At 1417 the first edited item was sent out. At 1425 EBU got a clean feed of the ongoing broadcast. This was kept up for 7.5 hours. This is the story about how the people in the EVN office managed to deal with the workload and the emotional impact.
I was sitting doing my regular Nordic exchange, and so I was focused on Nordic stuff, but I heard they were talking about some explosion in downtown Oslo, and after they were talking more about it, it became pretty clear that it was pretty big.
By sheer luck, the EVN office was staffed by both the morning and evening shift when the event happened. With 4 people working, they had some flexibility.
The most important, I think, was give each person a specific task, and then we can adjust as it goes and move over to other tasks, but just give everybody one specific thing to concentrate on, so that we wouldn't run around in circles.
Well, that was my assignment, that I had to feed the pictures out. So I was really just looking in our editing program. I continued to just, because everyone else was so busy, I couldn't go and ask someone, what's the plan for today? What are we getting? What are we covering? Because everything was just happening as we were speaking. So I just sat with the editing program, and I was updating our where we get our raw material, and I was just looking what's the newest we have, and I made an edit and tried to get it out as soon as possible.
So we provided what we had as soon as we had it.
My task was to just watch the news bulletin and get all the updates and just write them down so that we could use them for the dope sheets that we send out to Geneva.
The EVN office is just 2 meters from the central desk, which helped immensely in being part of the information flow.
I think it's essential. We can overhear the discussions across the desk, and we can pop out and ask the editor directly, or the journalists, or we can just peek over their shoulders to watch what they're working on.
Usually we just overhear stuff in the beginning, and then we have to go and seek out what's going on here, what's the development, what kind of pictures are we getting. And this particular day it was very chaotic everywhere, and it was very hard to get information from people because everyone was on the phone all the time as things were intensifying.
And the increasing amount of information that came in from the reporters in Oslo gave the EVN office a very good view of what was needed. A dedicated EBU feed point close to the blast site.
Gaute, who was doing the evening shift, he has done feed points before, so I sent him out to try to establish a feed point downtown somewhere. We didn't know what resources we had, we didn't know anything, but I sent him out.
Glass was still falling from all the walls around here, and we had to actually had to go very close to the wall in order to avoid getting shattered glass falling on us. Well, this live point is actually very close to the bomb site, the actual bomb site, which is just in front of the tall building behind me here, which is the government offices. And there was a lot of devastation in this area, so this was one of the few buildings so close to the bomb site that was not totally destroyed. So this place was empty, there was nobody here. It was in the middle of the summer vacation, so we had to actually bring the people down here. And that's why it was lucky for us that the sports department just gave us their people.
At 15:27 GMT, the first reports came in about gunfire at Utøya, about 40 kilometers from the center of Oslo. As the severity of the situation became apparent, the EVN office started the work that would lead to a live point as close as possible to the island. NRK quickly established an SNG with 2 outputs. It was decided that the second output could be used for EBU stand-ups and edits. Geneva stepped in and did most of the coordinating so the single crew could service both NRK and EBU. We had to divide attention between EBU and our own broadcaster, NRK. And we tried to do both from the same technical pool of resources. And we managed to do it, I think, mostly. But the operators at our feed point that had to serve both EBU and NRK, they were at maximum capacity for hour after hour after hour. And I had difficulty seeing how long they could actually do it. I think that the main operator, he was going non-stop for 28 hours, and that was his maximum.
Hier mag je absoluut als vreemde niet meer komen.
The day after the EBU feed point was up and running, but the demand was so great that NRK kept up the service from the day before. The demand on NRK resources from EBU was a constant challenge, a challenge that had started shortly after the bomb went off on Friday.
The main challenge was to take care of all the phone calls, I think, because that was distracting us from all the work we had to do. So, I think also the main problem was to give all the information people wanted.
That was one of the lessons learned, that given the sheer amount of phone calls and interest from abroad, it's absolutely essential to have a call center.
The images NRK broadcasted showed just part of the picture. The items were censored. The video the people in the EVN office had to deal with included scenes no one had ever thought would come out of Norway.
When I did the edits, I tried to be a little bit selective, and I also didn't send out the most graphic pictures. And there was one item that we got from Utøya, which I really wasn't really able to edit in because it was too... I couldn't take it, so I just waited until they had made an item themselves. So that was the only times I didn't really...
Why couldn't you do it yourself?
No, it was just because it was too tough. It was too... the feelings they had, or it was from the victims that arrived. It was the first pictures of the victims that arrived on the mainland, and it was just horrific pictures. So I left it, and they finished an edit in 10 minutes, so it wasn't... I just waited for them to finish it before I sent it out.
Was it hard to look at those pictures?
Those were hard, yes.
What about the pictures from the center of Oslo? There was, I understand there was quite a lot of blood and...
Yes, but that was more, for some reason it was easier to, or I mean it wasn't easy because it's my town and it's streets where I walk every day almost, but you kind of seen it before on pictures coming in from other parts of the world, and so. But I deliberately didn't send out the most graphic pictures there either.
Why not?
I don't know. At least in NRK we don't show them usually, so I figured there's no point in sending it out to others either. Maybe.
As the Norwegian public started with the difficult task of dealing with the horrific events, the EVN office was working. In the first 4 days they sent out 72 edited items and 18 live broadcasts, almost exclusively to EBU. In the months that followed, more material came from NRK. And in the time to come, the EVN office will honor its commitment to the EBU members.